Brendan Schaub did a piece, and he likes Dricus, and he likes Dricus to the point that he thinks he could be a 3-division champion. And no, before you're wondering if he's got to cut to 170, no. Brendan laid out the math. 185 where he's already king, go up to 205, grab the belt, slide up to heavyweight, beat those guys. I don't hate the idea. I'm grateful that Brendan brought it to us. I'm grateful that Brendan brought this to our attention because I too find that Dricus in his next fight with Chimaev is not fighting for nothing. I think there is something there. The pound for pound list. 145 and 155 are the deepest divisions in the UFC, historically speaking. So whoever is the champion of 45 or 55 will generally, one of those guys will be the pound for pound great. 185. This was my division, guys. I knew this division inside and out. I fought the up-and-comers, everyone in the top 10. I really knew the division. But take it from me, Mr. Division Expert, it has never been this difficult. Imanov is world champion quality. Israel Adesanya, who's the best 185-pounder the world's ever seen, is one of the guys. Bo Nickel, who I don't believe is going to lose another fight, isn't ranked in the top 10. DDR, who's really brought attention to himself better than any other athlete in 2025, is not campaigning and lobbying for a world title fight right now because he knows he doesn't deserve it. I mean, 185 is so remarkably incredible. And then, of course, you've got the boogeyman in Chimaev. The boogeyman in Chimaev versus the well-singing, handsome world champion, defended his championship for you weirdos that like to make that part of the prerequiem. And Brendan thinks, from seeing him, that he's cutting a lot to get to 185. I didn't know that. And Brendan thinks he could go 205, and Brendan thinks even if he let his body, kind of like what we're seeing with Alex Pereira, that he'd go all the way up to heavyweight. But it's funny you bring up Alex Pereira, because we have two guys that are only one win away from doing it. Now, we only have two guys. It would be an insurmountable challenge to have no belts and won all three. That insurmountable challenge lessens, but boy, sure looks hard to do if you got a belt and you need two more. I love that idea of champ, champ, champ. I think we do have two guys right now that can do it, but those two guys have already knocked two of them off. Ilia Topuria just needs to get it at 170, and that sure seems possible, maybe even likely. But then you have Alex. And just how good is Tom Aspinall? I know he's a face, and I know he's a star, and I know I see that potential the same as you guys do. But there are brawlers with massive power versus some real technicians that are slipping inside and looking for specific combinations. So if you bring a guy like Pereira up to 205, you put him in a kicking, punching contest with a really dangerous brawler. Is that dangerous brawler good enough to get to the chin and put down Pereira? Because if he's not, Pereira versus Tom is our most likely way to triple champ status. Ilia Topuria, one win. He should have 3 belts right now. 45, 55, BMF. Which I imagine even if he had all 3, somebody was going to take the BMF so just so he didn't have all 3 belts, somebody would have taken that and said it's not the same thing. But who do you think gets there first? And will anybody get there? Champ is not something the UFC likes. That Warrior Hogan moment where you got one guy's walking in the ring and he's got a belt and another guy's walking in the ring but he's got a belt too, and you go, oh my God, these guys are both champion? How does this work? Like, that's this beautiful moment. It's made for posters, and it's only happened 4 times in the history of our sport. I don't know how much the UFC loves that concept. But every few years, the UFC will allow us to have some fun. The rest of the time, they stick to the plan. Best on top of best. Nobody competes here unless you're the champion or you've shown potential that you can be a future champion. As soon as that light has dimmed, your time's up. But every now and then, there's some fun. And Dricus has a lot of work to do left at 185. There's a lot of matches for him. RDR comes to mind. Imanov comes to mind. Kyle Brow, he hasn't been in there with those guys yet. So there's plenty to do at 185. But the number one thing that Brendan did for me in this article is bringing it to my attention that Dricus is big. I've seen the sufferings of Charles Oliveira. I've been there for the sufferings of Max Holloway. At a distance, I've watched the torture that Merab has to go through. It's well documented how hard that scale was for Khabib and his disciple Islam. I haven't been told that yet by Dricus. But Brendan's now got me curious. What does Dricus weigh? What does he walk around at? How heavy has he gotten when he got heavy? He's got my eyes wide open. Brendan's got me thinking. But more than anything, I do concur with Brendan Schaub that there's a lot on the line for this fight. And if 185 could get the respect that it deserves, if there's ever been a time a pound-for-pound king was in the middleweight division, it's got to be when the middleweight division is more difficult than it's ever been, and that's right now. Got to get Chimaev. And see, if Chimaev beats you, historically, he makes you look like you're a lower class. He beats you badly. He beats you quickly, and he beats you handily. Those are all things that are hard to imagine he can do to Dricus. Dricus is a lot better than we think he is. And if he comes out raising his hand and let him know he keeps his belt, I'm with Brendan Schaub. It's not enough. We need a higher reward. So if you were to guess, do you like what I'm saying about pound for pound? Do you like what Brendan's saying about get him up to 205? Give him a shot up there too. What higher reward can we give Dricus for having the courage that many other men didn't to do in 5 rounds opposite Chimaev? That's my question.